Good morning, manna gatherers. It is Monday, March 1st. We're on to a new month here. So here's what was a realization to me this weekend. God's good stuff is all around us. For as Psalm 24 says, the earth is the Lord's and all that is in it, meaning there is really not that sacred secular divide that we often think there is and falsely believe there is, because the sacred, the holy God can be found, is truly everywhere. I begin this way this morning because sometimes we find little nuggets of God. They come to us while you're listening to the news or a podcast or reading a novel, like I was doing when I read this phrase that just stuck out to me. Understanding makes the mind lazy. Understanding makes the mind lazy. This caught my attention. I thought, well, that is a provocative statement, but do I agree? And after many pensive moments, I decided, yes, that I do agree. When you think you fully understand something, you stop searching, you stop seeking, you stop wanting to know more, and you just kind of move on. Sometimes I think that is how we get in our faith lives. We read the same scripture passages over and over and do the same things at church over and over that we feel like, yeah, I have a good understanding of this whole faith stuff. But as my Hebrew Bible professor said to me my very first year as a seminarian, and I know I have said it before to you in the last couple months, at some point, we need to leave as Christians, we need to leave room for mystery because Christians not comfortable with mystery. In other words, Christians not fully comfortable with fully understanding and always not fully understanding and always living with more and more questions almost than the answers they have, will have a hard time being followers of Jesus. Or we may fool ourselves into thinking we have everything in faith all figured out, and therefore we get lazy in our minds and our hearts and even our habits. For a long time in church history, asking questions was completely taboo. The church had all the answers. And I think that was a mistake of generations past because asking questions, admitting that you don't understand, leads to actually understanding more, understanding deeper, allowing your understanding to broaden into areas your mind and heart had never thought or dared to go. God is truly all at once both incomprehensible and knowable. But sitting with God where God seems to be incomprehensible actually makes helps us to understand and know God better. Paul proclaims in Romans 11, "Oh, the depth of the riches and wisdom and knowledge of God." Just when you think you have a full grasp on God, you are struck, as Paul was, with surprise by what you don't know or you don't understand. And hear me, manna gatherers, that is a good thing because it leads us as people of faith to ask, to seek, to knock. Understanding makes the mind lazy. And the thoughts that took me down led me to a very well known and often quoted proverb, Proverb 3, 5, and 6. 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek God's will in all you do, and God will show you which path to take. These are verses that came to mind when I thought understanding makes the heart mind lazy. But so they are the ones that we will sit with this full first week of March. So before I say see you tomorrow, let's take a little look at this verse and have one short takeaway. Our takeaway from proper Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 is trust. Let's focus on that word trust. To be okay with not fully ever understanding, to live in a state of mystery and questioning and discovery is to have an absolute full trust of God. And that trust means we commit to allow God to guide us to greater understanding while having a complete peace from God that helps us to be content, to be okay, to not have all the answers, to not fall into the trap our culture seems to falsely believe that that not understanding, not having answers is a some kind of sign of weakness or ignorance, of unfaithfulness even, or all kinds of other negative things. It is not a negative thing to not know, to not understand. To be truthful, I chose to be a minister because I get to spend my days asking and living questions and seeking to understand God more and more, where I am completely baffled by God and continue to not understand and have more questions than I do have answers. Yes, I felt called by God to lead through God's church, but I feel like this aspect of ministry, admitting that I don't understand and asking questions and walking with people to understand more and more of the ways of God, even if that more is by the millimeter. This kind of journeying definitely does not make room for time or to be lazy, for room for my mind, my heart, or any part of the search of God to let me sit down and be lazy. So I hope that you will join me this week in confessing where maybe you don't understand and you do have questions, and sitting with that lack of understanding and sitting with those questions and being okay with it, knowing that all of it will lead you closer to God. That is my prayer. That is my hope. And I think that is the assurance God gives us. I will see you tomorrow on Tuesday.